All right, so we're now able to register a user. We're able to log in to get a token. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, well, what the hell good is this token? Well, we need to actually create some middleware that will allow us to send this token within the header when we want to access a protected route, for instance, to view the user's contacts. So let's jump into VS Code and let's create a new folder in the root here called middleware. And inside here, we're going to create a file called auth.js. So middleware is just a function that has access to the request and response cycle and the request and response object. Okay, so every time we hit an endpoint, we can fire off this middleware. And we just want to check to see if there's a token in the header. So we need to bring in the JWT. Okay, because we need to basically verify the token. So we'll say require JSON web token, and then we're also going to bring in config because we need access to the secret. Okay, and then let's create our function. We want to export it, so module.exports. Set this to a function. And this is going to take in request, response, and next. So whenever you have a middleware function, after you do what you want to do, you need to call this next function, which just says move on to the next piece of middleware. So first thing we want to do is get the token from the header. So let's say const token. And the way that we can do this is with the request object, we can access header. So request.header, and we're going to send the token in x/auth-token. That's basically the key to the token inside the header. So we're going to grab it, and then we're going to say check if not token. So basically check if it doesn't exist. So let's return, or wait a minute, we need to first check. So let's say if not token. So basically if there's no token, let's go ahead and return res.status. And I'm going to return a 401, which is unauthorized. And then we can attach some JSON to that. So we can say message, and let's say no, we'll say no token, authorization denied. Okay, so we'll move on here. If there is a token, then we need to verify it. So I'm going to put this in a try catch. And inside the try here, let's say const, and we're going to create a variable called decoded. And we're going to say JWT verify. And we need to pass in the token, because at this point we have a token. We just need to verify it. This also takes in the secret. So we'll say config.get. And we want to get the JWT secret. Okay, now once it gets verified, the object, I should say the payload, is going to be put into decoded. Now we want to take the user out, which we only have the user ID, but we're going to assign that user to the request object. So we'll say request.user equals decoded, which is the entire token payload, but we just want the user. Okay, then we just want to call next to move on. Now, if it's not valid, then we're going to just do a res.status. And let's do a 401, and we'll say .json. And we're going to send a message and say token is not valid. Okay, and that's it. So just to reiterate, we have a middleware function, and we're checking to see if there's a token in the header in this xauth token. If not, we're just going to say no token, authorized, denied. And remember, this is only going to pertain to protected routes that we choose to protect. And then down here, if there is a token, we're going to verify it. We're going to pull out the payload. We're going to set the user that's in that payload to request.user so that we'll have access to this inside the route. And then we're just calling next. Okay, if it doesn't verify, then we're just going to say token not valid. All right, so let's save that. Now, in order to test this out, we need a protected route. So I'm going to go to my routes auth.js, and this route here, this get API auth, this is going to get the current logged in user. So obviously this is a private route that we need to protect. So anytime we need to protect a route, we simply need to bring in our middleware. So let's bring in, let's go right here and say const auth and set this to require. And we want to bring in .. so up one level into middleware and then auth. Now the way that we use this is we just pass it as a second parameter. So since I want this to be a protected route, I'm going to pass in auth as a second parameter. Now if I save this and I try to go to this route, which is a GET request to API auth, let's try it. So I'm going to go, let me just copy this, except instead of post, it's going to be GET. And if I try it, no token authorization is denied. Okay, this is a route that you have to be logged in because the point of it is to get the logged in user. So let's continue on here. And well, actually, I guess we could, no, this is going to be pretty easy. So we'll just do this part now. So I'm just going to do a try catch. And let's see, let's make this asynchronous, this function. And what we're going to do is get the user from the database. So I'm going to say const user equals, and we're going to use a mongoose method that returns a promise. So we're going to say await, and the method is find by ID. Now, if we send the correct token and we're logged in, this request object is going to have a user object attached to it with the current logged in user's ID. So we can pass in request.user.id like that. Now the data I return, it's going to get the user data. I don't want to return the password. So we can actually use .select, and we can say in here minus password because we don't want to return the password. Even though it's encrypted, we still don't want to return that in the response. And then we'll simply say res.json and we'll send the user. Okay, inside the catch here, we'll just do the standard console error of error.message message, and then we'll do a res.status of 500, and let's just send a server error. Okay, so let's save that and let's try it. So if we go back, we don't have a token, we're going to get this message. Now I'm going to go ahead and log in. So I'm going to open up my login route, and in the body I have the correct login. I'll go ahead and send, and I have a token now. So I can simply take this token, go back to my protected route, and inside the headers I'm going to add the key of x-auth-token, and for the value I'm going to pass in my token. And now if I send, there we go, I get back John Doe, I get back that specific user. Because what happened is this token has the user ID inside the payload, and we're able to access it right here, request.user, because in our middleware we assigned it to request.user. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. This, when we access a protected route and we include auth as the second parameter, it runs this middleware, and it's assigning the user to request.user. And we're just putting the ID inside this query of find by ID. So I hope that makes sense. Now, if I change anything at all in this token, if I get rid of this last character and put something else on, and I send, we're going to get token is not valid. Okay, so it has to be that exact token that was received when you either logged in or registered. Okay, so we have that route set up. So the the authentication is completely done. We're able to now log in and register, get a token, send that token to access a protected route. And I just want to save this request that we're making here. Actually, I want the correct token though, which I believe was an L. Or let's just get a new one. So grab that and paste that in. There we go. So let's go ahead and save as. I'll save in users and auth, and I'm going to save it as get logged in user. All right, so that's it. In the next video, we're going to start on our contacts. So our contact routes here, which are all going to be protected because remember, contacts are specific to a user. Okay, so we're going to get into that next.